Am I the a-hole for banning half-brother from a wedding? My husband, 31 male and I, 29 female, got married civilly last year and will, COVID permitting, be having our religious ceremony and reception in October of this year. All parties will be vaccinated and the wedding will be socially distanced. Don't worry. Here is the issue. My father is coming from overseas to come to my wedding and walk me down the aisle. He is insisting on bringing his son, 9 male, with him for almost 2 months. I have asked him not to for many reasons. For some background, my parents are still legally married but separated, and he expects to bring his son, who is not my mother's child, to stay with my mom in the house that is still in his name. Second off, this child was conceived while my father was having an affair in our home country, and nobody knew about the kid until my dad surprised us one day with a picture of him. Basically, my mom was ambushed and was expected to deal with it because she is financially dependent on my father. Now, I have met the kids and I have no problem with my half-siblings at all. They're kids for Pete's sake. I mean, I know he is my half-brother, but it's weird because he isn't really a brother to me, if that makes sense. He lives in another country, and I didn't grow up with him, but I truly harbor no ill feelings for the kids. Children are innocent and should never have to bear the sins of their parents. But my mom always told my father, do whatever you want, but don't bring your crap to my door. This, in my opinion, is him bringing the crap to the door, then smearing it on the door and smashing the rest in my mom's face. Why should my mom have to deal with her husband's love child who I barely know running around at her daughter's wedding? Yes, it is me and my husband's day, but she is my mom and the spine that holds my life together. In my opinion, it's her day too, just in a different sense. I stand with my mom because my dad's being a tool. Quite frankly, in the month leading up to the wedding, I will be bloody busy with last-minute stuff and have no time to entertain a kid. But I would be lying if I didn't say my number one reason is the blatant disrespect of my mother, who is an awesome mom, and quite possibly the best grandmother on the face of the earth. I have tried so hard to kindly explain to my father why his kid shouldn't come, and I have highlighted all the cons for my half-brother, like missing school. No kids to play with, different language and country, and my dad won't be able to properly care for him. Again, old immigrant male mentality. I love my father dearly, but he is thick-headed and wants to do whatever the hell he wants. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for giving my father the ultimatum of either come alone or don't come and mom will walk me down the aisle? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Honestly, why not have your mom walk you down the aisle to begin with? Your father isn't exactly the shining example of the sanctity of marriage. If father brings his affair child to stay in his wife's home, he should not have the honor of walking Opie down the aisle. Not the a-hole. I don't want you to bring the child born of your cheating on my mom to my wedding is a perfectly reasonable request. Not the a-hole. Wow. It's not just about having the kid at the wedding. For me, it's more about wanting to stay in the same house as your mom for 2 months. Even if he went alone, I'm sure your mom is not exactly looking forward to sharing a house with him for that long. Put your foot down. Your mom doesn't deserve that, and your dad is being totally entitled. Not the a-hole. This goes far beyond a Reddit thread. If you were going to ban the child, I would also ban the dad. Sounds like he made his own bed when he decided to be unfaithful. Why would you even want that kind of energy or juju in your wedding? Not to mention being walked down the aisle by a man who is as unfaithful as that. His family, but really? Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to go to my brother's wedding if my son can't go? Some backstory. My brother's 30 male, soon-to-be wife Tara, 26 female, went to the same high school as me. She was 1 grade below me, but we all knew each other. I, 27 male, have a 5-year-old son with an ex-girlfriend who also went to school with us. My ex and my brother's girlfriend hated each other. They were on the same drill team and, I don't know, were jealous of each other. It was some old BS petty high school rivalry. Then I guess it got bad because they were both crushing on the same guy, and he got with my ex after he rejected Tara. I got with my ex in college. It was a brief thing. We broke up right after my son Jason was born. He's with me full-time and my ex is in the picture sometimes, but not that much. I found out over a year ago my brother was in a relationship with Tara. And now they're engaged and going to get married in November. Haven't been around Tara much because I'm busy with my own life. When invitations went out, my brother called me. He said Tara didn't like Jason being there at their wedding. They've never met before because he's the son of my ex. She just doesn't like the idea of her sworn enemy's son being at her wedding. I didn't think he was serious because that was all years ago and we are, adults now. My ex isn't even in our lives, so it's not like she'll be there. I kind of got mad at my brother that he'd be cool with his own nephew not being at his wedding when all of my other siblings are bringing their kids. My brother pleaded me to go along with this because he wants her to be happy on their special day. So I said, you know what? Fine. But if my son isn't allowed at the wedding, then I won't be going either. Now my brother is the one mad at me for turning this into a big deal because he wants his family there. But he's just caught between a rock and a hard place. My parents agree she's being ridiculous and are berating my brother. My other siblings think I should have just agreed and not turned this whole thing into a bigger drama. So I'm on the fence about how I handled things here. If it was a no-kids wedding, then I'd get that. And yeah, it is their special day. But my son is the only one not allowed to be there. And I don't feel right with excluding him over something childish that was 10 years ago. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. If it was a no-kids event, then I would say no biggie. But since kids are allowed, the bride is being the a-hole. It's not your son's fault that the bride has something against his mother. Good on you for standing up for your son. I know this might be a slippery slope fallacy, but if you allow it for the wedding, what else is she going to exclude your son from? Just doesn't make much sense on her end. I don't get what the big deal is either. Or why should be hung up on something that happened when we were teenagers? Especially when my son had absolutely nothing to do with it. She wants to take her anger out on your kid because it's the closest she'll get to get even on your ex. It's gross. Not to mention she's getting even over losing another guy who isn't her current groom to her enemy. And groom is okay with this? Not today, Hall. Ask him what the long-term plan is. Is he planning on cutting his nephew out of his life forever due to his fiancée/wife's childhood feud with the child's practically non-existent mother? Does this mean she will make him or expect you to miss family events/Christmas/birthdays, etc. if your child is there? Where are the boundaries that she expects to be around your son? Because believe me, not attending the wedding is just the first step. Your brother needs to think long and hard about this situation and what it will really mean for his future relationships with his family. This, not today, Hall. She is hating a child for something he has no involvement in or control over. Now my brother is the one mad at me for turning this into a big deal because he wants his family there. Reread that. He wants his family there, but he doesn't want your son there because Tara will be upset. So your son is not part of the family. Also, if you let this slide this one time, what about next time? What about all the family gatherings and holidays? What if their defense is, this is her big day, so it's only going to happen once? Can anyone absolutely guarantee that? What if Tara starts threatening your brother and say she won't go because Jason's there? What if they have kids and Tara is holding the kids back because Jason's there? Can anyone be sure that will not and will never happen? If Tara is treating a 5-year-old child like that, she's not going to get better. Stand up for your child. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for outing my aunt about her secret first marriage that she was hiding from her kids and husband? Backstory. I, 28 male, was looking through some old photos at my mother's house a couple years ago and discovered a wedding picture of my aunt, 50s female, and a strange man I'd never met before, who is not the uncle I know. My mother told me about my aunt's first marriage, that she's kept hidden from the kids because she's very religious. The husband's name was Adam, fake name, relevant for later. My cousin, 34 female, is the daughter of my aunt with a current husband. She's pregnant again, and they're picking a girl and a boy's name because they want to be surprised. My cousin wants to name the baby Adam if it's a boy. My aunt has been saying very negative things about the name, how much she hates it, and how my cousin is ruining everything by naming her first possible grandson that name. She has kept going on and on. My cousin and her husband really loved the name, and it would be a tribute to her husband's dad who passed on a couple years ago. My cousin and I had a playdate with our children at my mother's house, and she was talking about this whole situation. She confided in me about how upset she is with everything since she's so close to her mom, how she's fallen in love with the name, and how bewildered she is and why her mom hates the name. This is where I might be the a-hole. When she told me the name, it clicked right away, and I told her it was because that was her mom's first husband's name. My cousin said her dad was her mom's only husband, and she knows this because her mom said she was a virgin when she married. I was going to leave it at that, but my cousin looked at me funny and asked why I would lie. How if someone lies about little things, then you can't really trust them. I told her I wasn't lying, and she doubled down saying I was. So I told her to wait, and I dug through my mother's photos and found a wedding picture. I showed it to my cousin and told her she should apologize because I wasn't lying. This was her first husband, and his name was Adam. She went into a tailspin of how much her mother has lied, and I told her the only liar here was her mom, not me. My cousin was not happy about that. My cousin confronted her mother, and now my aunt is furious with me and my mother for keeping the evidence. But my uncle and my cousin is furious at my aunt. Am I the a-hole? I was just defending my honor, and my aunt didn't make me promise to keep her secret. Now for the top comments. So your aunt lied and upset a bunch of people who are not you, and she and all of those people are blaming you? These people are the reason you only have family reunions every 20 years. Not the a-hole. My cousin confronted her mother, and now my aunt is furious with me and my mother for keeping the evidence. My uncle and my cousin are furious at my aunt. No one is angry at Opie except the aunt. Unless there was a line I failed to read. Everyone sucks here. You knew what you were doing. And the gleeful delivery of your mom's a liar, not me, reflects poorly on you. But open secrets like this in families are straight garbage. I grew up in a family with them and got myself into trouble a few times by not knowing who the secrets were kept from. So I'm straight up with people. I can't keep up with secrets, so if you want to keep something secret, keep me out of it. Yeah, but Opie was kept out of it. It's not like the aunt confided in Opie and then pressured him to keep it a secret. Opie stumbled across information that had nothing to do with him. Nobody knew he knows, and he could have very easily avoided being mixed up in this. But Opie just couldn't keep the juicy gossip to himself. 'Cause honestly, that's really what it was, wasn't it? Telling cousin didn't solve anything or help anyone, just created a bunch of drama for aunt, uncle, and pregnant cousin who really has enough on her plate. Oof, this was a wild ride, man. Everyone sucks here. You're undoubtedly an a-hole, not because you let it slip that your aunt is a liar, but because of this. I told her the only liar here was her mom, not me. You took it way too personal. You should have let it go at that. Your cousin probably would have come around. If not, that's her loss. You created family drama unnecessarily. It's none of your business if your aunt is a master liar. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit my ex's kids? Some background. Ex cheated on me when our sons were 6 and 4, now 12 and 10. Left me for the other woman who got pregnant, and that baby ended up being stillborn. Things were already tense between us, but then they wanted to keep the boys for an indefinite period of time so she could grieve with them around. I said no. She told me she needed her boys around. Now, take into account that she was in their lives 5-ish months at that point and was already claiming them as hers. They never got over my refusal, and the fact that when my ex had to leave for a month working after, that I wouldn't let her see the boys in that time, or the fact I didn't show concern for the two of them. Apparently, I was supposed to be unaffected by what my ex and his other woman did. Things have not changed since. We don't communicate all that much, which is how I like it. The boys have a rocky relationship with them because they tried to force them to call her mom. Anyway, they now have 2 other kids, and her mom died. She grew up in another country, and her family's there. They want to travel for the funeral and ask me to keep their kids because it would apparently be more complicated quarantining and stuff with children. I said no. I do not want to look after their children. I am not helping them out. They are pissed with me, saying ex's family all said no too. They have nobody who will watch the kids, and she doesn't deserve to go through this alone. I told them I have no responsibility to help them, and no desire to have their kids in my home for 2+ weeks, depending on how long it takes them to go for the funeral and make it back. Ex's wife called me an a-hole, and told me I am devoid of empathy. I told her not to expect favors from the woman whose husband she had an affair with. A friend of mine suggested I should do it for the bonding time between kids. That she knows if the boys don't really like dads, they probably haven't done much bonding with their half-siblings. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Holy hell, the audacity to ask you. Absolutely not the a-hole. If my ex asked me this, I'd be laughing so hard I'd wet myself. Not to mention she at one point wanted Opie's kids to be there like emotional support animals. I understand her grief over her lost child, but she literally was what broke up their parents' relationship and has no right to ask that of them. Not the a-hole, Opie. The entitlement of your ex and his wife is beyond belief. Given the history and past interactions, they are delusional to think you owe them to help them out in anything, let alone this huge imposition. The relationship between your kids and their half-siblings is your ex's responsibility, not yours in any way. You have said all the right things. Please ignore them if they try to pressure you again. Not the a-hole. I wonder if the half-siblings even have a good relationship with Opie's kids, considering what the ex and the other woman did. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. She said that you are an a-hole and that you are devoid of empathy? If she wants to see that person, she should go to the bathroom and look in the mirror. Their kids, their problem. Neither of them have anyone that will help them. You know why? Because nobody wants to help a bunch of a-holes. They're lucky that they found each other. I would understand a weekend, but 2 weeks? Just stay calm and keep your voice down when you talk to them. It's super easy to scream when you're dealing with entitled lunatics. You seem to set your boundaries clearly, and they are not unreasonable.
Our first story, titled, Am I the a-hole for throwing my sister out of my house after she billed me? My sister is a train wreck. She needed a place to stay, and I have a large enough home for an extra person. She has no job or income. I told her she has a few months to get her crap together and leave. I give her about $100 a week to keep my house clean, so she has some cash. I gave my sister her $100 and she said I owed her more. I was confused. She said she did other work for me. I asked her, what more did she do? She said she walks my dog in the afternoon. I walk my dog every morning and evening. But she takes him with her on her afternoon walks. She said the going rate for a dog walker is $25 per walk. 5 times $25 is equal to $125 on top of the $100. Then, she mentions she put together a scrapbook of personal letters and papers. According to her, in Etsy, that job was easily another $75. I told her I never gave her permission to do those things. Her argument is that those jobs fell under the umbrella of keeping the house clean, and I was ripping her off. So, I threw her out. The money isn't the issue. I have plenty of disposable income. I was disgusted how she came at me. Now let's read the comments. Not the a-hole. I would have countered with a bill of food, rent, and utilities. Every time I tried to pull this crap with my dad when I was little, he would counter with that. Show her what real expenses look like. Yeah, one of my sisters did that once. It went over like a turd in a punch bowl. Not the a-hole. Do as she did. Bill her for rent according to local housing prices, her share of water, electricity, internet, groceries, etc. I do this to show her the reality of her situation, to be honest. I'd go all out, sit her down like an intervention, have all of the utility bills to hand, create a budget sheet, etc. If I was being particularly petty, as per the scrapbooking, I'd charge her for the financial consultation too. Not the a-hole. Put this on r/choosing beggars. How she is actually begging. She got $100. Remember that she is living in Opie's house. Also, she gets it every week. And she wants $125 plus more? Yep, that's called a choosing beggar. And the thing is that she originally got the 125 but pushed it too far. Now for the second story, am I the a-hole for saying my sister-in-law is acting really freaking creepy? I am 26 female and my brother Tom is 30. He is married to Emily, 31, and they have a daughter, my niece, who is 3. Emily also has a brother, George, who is 28. I've met George plenty of times and he's a nice guy. We don't really interact much, unless it's for family events or if we're seeing our niece. Anyway, Emily has joked for a while I should date George, as we've always been single at the same times. We've just laughed it off every time, as George and I have zero attraction to each other. However, lately Emily has gotten pretty serious about it. I keep telling her to knock it off, and she said it would be great if George and I got together and had a kid because it means our kids would be full cousins on both sides. I told her to stop and she hasn't. She has even going on and on about it, saying she wants her kid to have a cousin that's within her own family and mine, so she doesn't have to get to know another family if I dated someone outside of George. I finally reached my limit and told Emily she's acting really creepy, that she wants me to date and sleep with her brother to provide her with a child so it's a pure cousin of my niece. I also told her that even if I did date someone and had a kid, there is zero chance she'd be involved with her family, or if she was, it would be the bare minimum. I really upset her, and she's been crying to my brother saying how much of a witch I am, and that I accused her of fetishizing her own brother. That is literally not what happened. Tom is demanding I apologize to Emily. George reached out to me and told me he was glad I said something, as his sister wasn't listening whenever he told her to stop. George says I have nothing to apologize for. Am I the a-hole? Time for the top comments. Not the a-hole. That's really creepy thing to push her brother and you into sleeping together just to have a kid. Especially when both parties have told her multiple times back off and she's only crying because she got called out. Not the a-hole. You're right. That is seriously creepy. What the hell? Especially how she just kept pushing the issue over and over again, like she was hell-bent on making it happen despite both of you telling her to drop it. Glad George is backing you up at least, since your brother doesn't have the sense to see how inappropriate his wife was behaving. If this were a rom-com, OP and George would start seeing one another in a different way right about now. Not the a-hole. Your brother is also not the a-hole. Clearly, if you and George both wanted something to be said, that's great that you stood up to her, but your brother probably got the story from his hurt wife and is doing what a good husband would by trusting her. You were maybe a little harsh on the delivery, but another conversation with her and your brother should be able to clear things up. It's probably best to apologize for the delivery, but stand firm on the fact that the insinuation that you should date George after multiple times saying you both don't want to do, that is offensive. She's been like this for months. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for shouting at my sister for announcing her pregnancy in my 21st? A little backstory. I'm the youngest of 4. As I've grown up, I've always felt like my oldest sister, 30, never liked me, which upsets me because we do not have a lot in common. When I reached my teen years, she had already moved out when she had her first baby. It was also when I started finding my individuality. That is, punk clothing, dark makeup, heavy metal, etc. These are all things she liked when she was my age too. We have other sisters, but she never treats them coldly. Growing up, we were all treated fairly by our parents and were disciplined all the same. She often says she was the one who had to parent us, but that isn't true. Even though our parents divorced, they were still there for us. Reaching 21 is considered a big deal, so when my sisters had their 21st birthdays, they were thrown parties and generally had a great time. It made me excited for my own 21st birthday. By this time, my oldest sister has had 4 children, nieces and nephews that I absolutely adore, but my other sisters were beginning to feel like she was doing it for some kind of approval from our parents. She also lived in a 2-bedroom house which is pretty small for 6 people, and it didn't seem like she looked after her kids well, because they always look unhappy. She always coincidentally announced her pregnancies during big events in my life. That is, award ceremonies, my 16th, getting accepted into performing arts school, etc. Well, one day, whilst preparing a couple weeks in advance for my 21st, one of my other sisters called me to tell me that the oldest was pregnant again, but she hadn't told everyone yet. I was happy to get another niece or nephew, but I felt my stomach drop. I knew what was going to happen, and sure enough, it did. My birthday came. As the cake was being brought out and after I blew out the candles, I hadn't even cut the cake yet when she decided to announce her 5th pregnancy. I was devastated. Aunts and uncles flocked to her, giving her congratulations, while some of my sisters were annoyed she did that. My parents felt awkward, but they went along with it because they didn't want the eldest to feel bad. But I lost it. Years of feeling pushed aside made me crumble. All my sisters had great 21st birthdays, and deep down I knew it was wishful thinking, hoping that mine would be the same. I yelled at my eldest, asking her why she always did this. She looked at me confused, then immediately her lips started quivering, indicating she was about to cry. My sisters were on my side, but everyone else says I was unfair and ruined the whole day. Am I the a-hole? Edit. So that people are aware, my sisters warned her not to announce it on my birthday as they had a feeling she would, but she did it anyway. Edit 2. Yes, I know I could have beaten her to the punchline and announced it myself, but I think she would have thrown a fit about it and ruined everything anyway. Damned if I do, damned if I don't. Edit 3. People are asking why I invited her. My parents did, and I considered uninviting her, but I knew if she wouldn't be allowed to come, she'd make her kids suffer too, and they love being around their cousins. Edit 4. I've mentioned in the comments that my parents are less inclined to confront her due to her manipulative ways of keeping her kids from visiting whenever they try to call her out. If she misses out, her kids suffer with her, and it may end up with CPS being called. Sorry for all the edits. Thanks to everyone commenting. I'm trying to reply to everyone, but I really appreciate it. Now let's read more info and top comments. Wow, not the a-hole. Your sister could have announced it a day before and a day after. She absolutely chose your spotlight moment, and crying doesn't make her right. Your parents really think you are the a-hole? My parents said I could have handled it better and should have spoken to her after everyone had left for the night. I do agree with handling it better. I didn't want to yell at her in front of everyone, but I was kind of in the moment. I think my parents know she can be a bit difficult, but they would rather side with her so she doesn't pull a tantrum. Bear in mind, she's 10 years older than me, so you think she'd act more of an adult than me. Not the a-hole, but try not to feel bad. You'll have a great life. And she's 30, in a 2-bedroom house, with 5 kids, that she obviously can't afford, and isn't a good parent to. If she gets some sense of winning by trying to overshadow your accomplishments, it's all in her head. Thank you very much. Don't get me wrong, I adore my nieces and nephews, but I worry now because of this, she won't let me see them anymore. She's done similar to my parents for less. This may sound cold, but you just turned 21. I think you should go be free from her negativity and drama. Do you really want to be held hostage to her moods and whims for the rest of your nieces and nephews' lives? Or childhoods, I guess. Besides, she needs you more than you need her. I bet she really needs all the help she can get with her kids. 5 kids in 1 bedroom? I really can't get over it. You're 100% in the right here, and I wouldn't back down, apologize, or try to broker peace with her. Let her come to me, or not, but that's just me, and I'm far too old and too fed up with family drama to play into it anymore. That isn't cold at all. Thank you for your input. It really helps. I won't lie, I was very young when she had her firstborn, and I was there for her as much as I could be, feeding the baby, bathing, cleaning, taking care of, etc. But this was when she was still living at home, until she found a place of her own. She has a loving partner that she takes for granted, and a lot of support. But it's hard to be there for her when she seems to shut us out or uses her kids to get what she wants from us. I feel like this is how it's always going to be, but I will give it one more try before I start living for myself. Thank you again. Final story. Am I the a-hole for proving my mom has a favorite kid? I'm the youngest of 3 kids. My bro, 28, my sis, 26, and me, 23 female. My brother and I have always had a running joke that my sister is the golden child, but it's not really a joke. My mom always put more effort into my sister and was involved in everything she did, while my brother and I were left home alone to do whatever. I couldn't get braces because my sister needed new dance shoes. My brother had to quit football because his practice overlapped with sister's dance classes, etc. Over the years, the golden child joke has started a few arguments because mom insists she doesn't. One thing that always annoyed me was an issue around swearing. My parents forbid any type of swearing when I was a kid, and if we did, should ground us for up to a month. But as we each turned 18, they loosened up. Now, my brother loves to use the F word in every sentence, and my mom always scolds him for it. If I use it, she tells me off to, and when I was living at home, she would take my car keys as punishment. My sister, however, swears like a sailor, and I have never heard/seen my mom even blink an eye at it. Recently, we visited our parents' place where my sister still lives, and she was talking and swore. Mom did nothing. 5 minutes later, I noticed our dog had peed inside, and I swore. Mom yelled at me. I asked her why my sister didn't get in trouble. Mom said she hadn't heard her swear. They were standing next to each other. So over the rest of the day, every time our sister swore, my brother or I would then swear too. Mom kept telling us off, but never told my sister off, so we pointed it out to her and said it was because sis is her favorite kid. She literally never gets in trouble. My mom lost it, yelled at us that we were ungrateful, bitter, that she'd made us move out. We both had issues with sister, and she asked us to move out so sis wouldn't be upset. And always picked on sis for no reason. This caused a fight, and my mom looked to my dad to defend her, but he took our side and said he told her over the years she had to stop favoring sis. Mom got even angrier and demanded bro and I leave. Since then, Mom has been sending us both mean messages about being ungrateful and rude. My sister, who hasn't spoken to me since February, also texted and called me a bitter old C, and that I was jealous because she was better than me, and I knew it. She's always told me she was better than me, which is what caused a lot of our fighting because I believed her and it affected my mental health. My and bro's partners both think we should have just let sleeping dogs lie because we just ruined an already strained family relationship. I'm starting to think I should have just kept my mouth shut like I always have, but my brother stands by it. Am I the a-hole? And now for the top comments. My and bro's partners both think we should have just let sleeping dogs lie because we just ruined an already strained family relationship. You didn't break anything. You just pointed out all of the cracks and holes in the foundation. Then your mom and sis started stomping on them to bring the rest of the house down. Not the a-hole. I love that your dad took your side on this, and also that your sister called you C via text message in response to an argument about your sister not being punished for swearing. Your mom is just angry that you pointed out her hypocrisy. Send mom a screenshot of the text and ask how long sister is grounded for that word. I'll bet you $10 mom claims Photoshop. She won't even bother with that. It'll just be OP's fault for not being nicer. Doesn't she know how much stress sis is under? She can't be expected to behave nicely, and it's all everyone else's fault. OP, get thee to therapy. And also brace yourself. In however many decades, hopefully a lot, when your parents pass away, sis will absolutely expect you and bro to provide for and enable her like her parents did for the rest of her days, and will fly into the mother of all rages when you don't. Be aware. Not the a-hole, but she is not going to change. Maybe go low contact and start hanging with people who are good for you. Low contact with mom, more contact with dad. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You've done your efforts for making your mom realize that she has favoritism. Kudos to your dad for siding with you both. And she's a literal narcissistic person, and your younger sister could have been influenced by her. And you and your brother's sake, it's better to leave them be. Narcissists won't listen to you at all. They need a sharp slap reality before they realize they're wrong, if they will get to that point. The sister is actually older, which is surprising because all I hear is favoritism towards younger children. And that's all for this video. As always, comment, like, and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe, everyone. Our first story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my stepdaughter to go ask her real dad when she asked me to pay for her plane tickets? I married my wife at least 12 years ago. She has a 16-year-old daughter, Anna, from her previous relationship, and we have a 7-year-old son as well. From pretty much the beginning of our relationship, Anna and I have never gotten along. I don't know how to emphasize that it is not because of a lack of trying. She just does not like me. When she was young, she was just scared of me and afraid I'd tear their family apart. Nowadays, it's more of a neutral dislike rather than the strong antipathy, so I suppose that's progress. Elise is a stay-at-home mother, so she relies on me for income. As a result, I pay for everything for Anna. Food, clothes, volleyball fees, field trips. I take an interest in her hobbies. I go to her games. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I try my damn hardest to be the stepfather I can. But it's so hard. Always giving me curt one-word responses. Always having to have an attitude. She does things to get a rise out of me. Staying out late reeking of booze. Always trying to sneak boys in. Typical rebellious stuff. But I always let her know I love her, and I'm there for her in hopes of her craphead teenager phase passes. The opposite is true for her biological father. She adores him. Can't tell you why. He never goes to her games, always makes excuses for why he doesn't want to see her. He forgot her birthday last month and she cried herself to sleep. Well, anyways, Friday, I came to her room to check her phone and read her messages. Not a permanent thing, but she's been caught sneaking out twice in the last month, so this is her punishment. I asked for the phone. She says, "No, I'm tired of you checking my stuff. Leave me alone." I tell her I'm not asking again, and she goes, "Just F off already. You're not my real dad. You never have been. Stop acting like you can tell me what to do," before getting up and slamming the door. Like I said, guys, I'm tired. Tired of the blatant disrespect. Of being the verbal punching bag while still providing more for her than anyone else in her family. We haven't really talked since until this morning during breakfast. She asked if I could pay for her plane tickets so she could see her boyfriend cross state. Like I said, her mom doesn't work and her dad is a piece of crap, so I normally would be the one to cough up the money. Not this time. I responded, "Go ask your real dad." I could tell she was hurt. Tears welled up from her face and she excused herself from the table. My wife took me aside later and said my comment was extremely disrespectful. I said if anything's disrespectful, it's her treating me like a doormat and a credit card, and I will no longer tolerate this treatment in my house. I told her we don't have to be friends, but if she can't, at least be cordial to me or respect my position as an authority figure. She can find someone else to pay for her non-essentials. Am I the a-hole? And to add more context, my wife is a saint. She does stick up for me when Anna says something rude or snarky. She just said stooping to her level was inappropriate. But she's a wonderful mom and tries her best. And now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, but you barely mentioned your wife, her mother. Why is she not handling this with her daughter? You've been in her daughter's life since she was 4, as stepdad, and your wife has continued to let this fester? She's continued to let her daughter disrespect you, and continued to mislead her daughter about her father's true character. This is all kinds of wrong. She's tried, but to be honest, she's not great at this type of stuff. She's a wonderful mom, but tends to just excuse the rebellious behavior with a "she'll grow out of it." And like I said, Anna has been making progress. I think it's less she's not good at it, and more that she bought into the myth that never being honest about a divorced spouse's true character somehow protects the child. Anna was allowed to continue with an unrealistic and incorrect image of her father. This just delayed reality for her to an age where she's ruled by emotions and hormones. Your wife is doing you both an injustice and needs to play a larger role here. She can't criticize you when she's not doing her part. She can't opt out of disciplining or teaching or guiding her child. That is the foundation of being a good mom. There's a difference in being neutral and letting a child have false hope. You're absolutely right about that. I'm not condoning negativity, but delaying the truth isn't always the best idea. This is our approach. We don't give her false hope that he will change, but we're not going to tell her directly that her father is a deadbeat. She'll figure that out on her own. Not the a-hole. Maybe your daughter can have a first-hand look at how much words can hurt. I think you should go to her, apologize. Never mind the fact she doesn't deserve it. You're the adult, be the bigger person, and set firm, fair, and strict rules about behavior going forward. Tell her what you told us, that you don't have to be friends, but you need her to respect your authority and at least be cordial to each other. Maybe ask her why she doesn't like you. Ask if there's anything you can do to support her better. And most importantly, remind her that you love her and will be there for her. Teenage girls are hard, man. Keep trying. A decade from now, she'll be grateful that you chose the high road. Thank you for this comment. I'm praying this is the case. God bless. Everyone sucks here. She's a bratty teenager, not you. Also, please for the love of God don't look through your teens' phones. That's not going to help crap. They're just going to get better and better at hiding things from you. We only did it as punishment. She snuck out twice. The first time we said, if you keep doing this type of behavior, we'll take your phone and make sure you won't again. After a week, we resolved to just read through her phone every now and again rather than take it indefinitely. Thank you for your judgment. That's the end of the first story. The next one is titled, Am I the a-hole for giving my mom a fake number when she asked for my job's contact info? I'll give some backstory first. My 18 female mother, 50 female, is extremely clingy. I have no idea why, but she's always done this. I've always been the most independent out of all my siblings, and therefore she is always trying to be in my business. I understand that she is my mother, and I love that she cares about me, but there are times when I must draw the line. At my last job, she would demand I text her whenever I get to work and whenever I leave, which was extremely doable. However, sometimes I'd arrive a bit later than I wanted and would have to immediately begin to work. I wouldn't be able to text her and she would flip out every time, calling my phone 20 to 30 times and calling my siblings and father asking where I was. She began to call my work phone, which was extremely embarrassing for me because sometimes my boss would answer. Once, when I was driving to work, my phone wasn't plugged into my Bluetooth, and so I couldn't text or answer calls. She then called my boss's personal phone number, which I still have no clue how she got, and asked him about me. I was furious and told her if she'd just been patient for 5 minutes, I would have answered, and she didn't get it. I'm always a perfect child and do everything she says, / never get into any trouble, so I don't know what the obsession is about. The worst thing she did was call my boss's personal phone during the pandemic and tell him I couldn't come in because it was dangerous. I had to find out about this by getting my weekly schedule and thinking I was fired because I had no shifts. I had to learn from my boss, who was super nice about it, why I was off the schedule because my mom hadn't told me. It was the most embarrassing moment I've ever felt, and she didn't understand why I was pissed at her for it. With my new job, I've tried to set boundaries. I told her my job has her emergency contact and that I would text her when I arrive and left. She asked for my boss's name and the store address, which is fine, and then asked for his personal. I gave her a fake number. I told my sister about this and she told me I was being petty and wrong, but I don't think she understands what it's like to have none of your privacy respected. My mother even begged that she drive me to work on my first day while she waited in the car as if I'm a child. Her behavior is making me hate being around her, as well as refrain from telling her anything about my personal life. So am I the a-hole for giving my mom a fake number so she doesn't embarrass me at work? Now let's read the top comments. Not the a-hole. And I'm not being flippant when I say that there's something very wrong with your mother. This is not normal mom behavior. This is pathological. It's starting to amaze me how many people think my mom is absolutely nuts. I honestly just thought everyone's mom was this controlling. I'm starting to rethink that. Nah man, I have some friends who has their moms keep trackers on their phones, but none are crazy enough to freaking call their boss personal phones. That will severely damage your career down the line. Best to sort that out now because what the hell? I'm very glad my mom isn't technologically savvy enough to get a tracker. I always assumed it was a foreign mom thing, but from the looks of this thread, it's a crazy mom thing. Starting now, I'm going to try to limit her from always being on my case. Not the a-hole. Your mother is not healthy and is actively harming your careers. Also, if she keeps this up, it is possible you may have to break off contact completely just to keep your sanity. I'm leaning towards that already. I love her, but her behavior is debilitating. I can't even hang with friends without her constant texting / calling. I say this in the most loving way possible. Get out as soon as you can and put your mother on an info diet. She is obsessing over you and your activities and trying to control what she can. Don't give her a key to your place. Tell her in no uncertain terms that you are being an adult and you love her for being a mother, but she is going to suffocate you if this behavior continues. You are not the a-hole for giving a fake number. You are protecting your interest. She obviously doesn't care enough about you to give you the space to grow into a functioning adult. And now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not calling my dad's new wife my stepmom? I am 25 years old. My parents have been divorced for 17 years. Neither of them ever dated or remarried until about a year ago when my dad started dating this woman. They got married over the summer, no wedding. My dad and this woman live on the other side of the country, so I had only met her twice prior to them getting married. Recently, I had a graduation party for finishing my master's. My dad came into town for it and brought his wife. At a party, I was introducing her to people as my dad's new wife, name, and thought nothing of it. However, his wife called me the next day. I didn't even have her number. She got it from my dad, because again, I have only met her twice and barely know her. Instead, she felt really hurt that I kept introducing her as my dad's new wife and not as my stepmom. I was shocked and basically said I'm sorry. It was good to see you yesterday and I appreciate you coming, but I don't think of you as my stepmom since I'm 25 and this was only the third time I've ever met you. Am I the a-hole for not calling a woman I barely know my stepmom? Now for the top comments of the post. Not the a-hole. She is your father's wife, not a maternal figure to you. Your introduction was in no way disrespectful. Maybe worth talking to your dad about boundaries and expectations in order to clear the air and make positions clear so that unknown resentment doesn't build up, but you are not even close to being an a-hole. Thanks. I did tell my dad when I talked to him later in the day, and he said he saw nothing wrong with what I said, but I don't think he talked to her about it. He is pretty non-confrontational, so I would probably need to bring it up again if I want to talk to her about it. It's good that he sees nothing wrong with it. You have an ally. It is probably best that he talks to her about what is reasonable or not in terms of expectations, no matter how much he hates confrontation. They're married, and confrontation is a fact of life sometimes. Not the a-hole. My stepson was over 16 when I married his dad, and most often calls me by my name or introduces me as his dad's wife. I don't think he means any offense by it, and I don't take any. We have a good family relationship, but not really a mother/child type relationship. Thanks. I definitely didn't mean any offense by either. It just did not occur to me to view her as any type of maternal figure due to my age and having had one mom only for 25 years. Not the a-hole. In my opinion, Dad's wife is just fine since you've only met twice. I don't think Dad's new wife is okay though. That new part sounds kinda critical, even though that's what she is. They got married a little over 1 month ago, so I thought it was appropriate and gave context since the people I was introducing her to, my friends, random relatives on my mom's side, etc., had no idea my dad had even been dating someone. And those are the stories for this video, folks. Leave a comment and don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more content. I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. Our first story is titled, Am I the a-hole for walking out of the delivery room while my fiancé was giving birth? This happened 2 weeks ago. My 28 male, fiancé, 26 female, and I just had a baby boy, and it's been difficult already without her being upset with me after what happened. I met her at a bar I used to hang out with my friends at. We dated for 8 months, and I decided to propose when she told me she was pregnant and wanted to have the baby. We both agreed on getting married after our baby is born. She was introduced to my family who welcomed her and took care of her, and she started spending time with them. I learned that she was engaged to her late fiancé for 4 years, but he got sick and passed away at a young age. She told me she had recurrent dreams about him. I wasn't upset because no one controls what they see in their dreams, but sometimes she mumbles his name and visits his grave on his birthday and still keeps their rings in our house. When she went into labor, I drove to the hospital to be with her, since she expressed to me how terrified she was after talking to her group of moms who had experience with labor/birth. Her labor lasted longer than expected. Her mom arrived when she was taken to the delivery room. She was feeling so much stress and even cried, which made it more difficult. I tried to reassure her and told her to think about our baby and just focus on that. She suddenly started screaming. First, she yelled her deceased dad's name, then let go of my hand and started yelling out her deceased fiancé's name and just continued to yell that name at the top of her lungs. I was shocked. I didn't know how to act. I was upset. I get she was feeling stress, but I don't get why she kept calling his name, till the point where the nurse wanted to ask me something and used the name my fiancé was calling out to call me, thinking it was my name. I was so embarrassed for having to correct her, as she looked confused. I tried to calm my fiancé down, but she continued, so I just walked out and told her mom to go be with her. I felt absolutely awful. I sat outside. I was literally shaking. She gave birth, and her mom walked up to me to give the news. I was happy my son was finally born. I went in to see them both for a short time before he was taken. My fiancé returned home and started berating me for walking out on her like that, and told me that what I did was unacceptable. I told her why, but she completely avoided this and tried to say that it didn't matter and that I was being ridiculous while she was feeling pain. We argued about it, and she brought up that she called out the names of the 2 most important people in her life, then went into the bedroom, leaving me feeling awful and guilty. She is expecting an apology and wants me to take her to stay at her mom's for a few days, since I was making her stressed out. And now for the top comments of this post. Wait, so her deceased fiancé is more important in her life than you, her current fiancé? Am I misunderstanding this? Not the a-hole. Current fiancé and baby. To be fair, she hadn't met the baby yet, and for all she knew, the baby would be a prick. Your fiancé is so wrong. She's projecting some serious guilt onto you, and do not take that crap. She has the unmitigated gall to be upset at you and has taken no responsibility for what she did/said. Opie, you need to slow your roll on the wedding. Your fiancé is not over her ex. At best, you are a placeholder. At worst, a sperm donor. You had no way of knowing before the delivery date that she was this damaged. You know now. Tread carefully. Not the a-hole. Your fiancé is not over her ex. Seriously, I'm amazed at the "you're the a-hole" responses in here. She explicitly said to Opie's face that her deceased ex-fiancé is more important to her than Opie. She's wanting to go stay at her mom's house in disregard for me, wanting to spend time with my son and bond with him. I don't know if I should be saying this, but I think that she's punishing me by taking my son and refusing to stay, saying I should respect her wish of wanting to calm down and relax and spend time with family. I don't know if I was pressuring her, but she just won't let go of what happened and keeps blaming me. You know, I was ready to say everyone sucks here until I read she called out the names of the two most important people in her life. Solidly not the a-hole. If not for the baby, I'd be saying you should tell her to F herself. Because there's a baby, you guys need couples counseling and she needs individual. Rough situation, man. I hope it gets better. Not the a-hole. If it had seemed like she still wanted you there, then you would be the a-hole for walking out no matter how distressed or irrational she was. But at the point she is screaming her ex's name over and over, it genuinely seems like she didn't want you there or that your presence was upsetting her. You did the right thing to step out. What she threw in your face about him and her dad being the two most important people in her life was also incredibly cruel. Wanting to keep rings or photos from a deceased fiancé is completely understandable, but unfavorably comparing your living partner to the deceased one to your living partner's face is just a horrible, cruel thing to do. If there wasn't a baby involved, I would say to let her know that's completely unacceptable and you won't stick around if it continues. But man, a baby sure does complicate things. I don't know what to advise you, but I don't think the way your girlfriend is treating you is normal or healthy. She's idolizing the deceased fiancé. He'll never have another chance to make a mistake or disappoint her. He also can't make her happy or build a life with her, and she could do with some counseling to appreciate life with you and her baby going forward. Now let's get to our second story. Am I the a-hole for only paying for my biological siblings' college fund? So I, 19 female, was given a sizable amount of inheritance from my grandfather that I could use for whatever I wished for once he passed on. So when I turned 18, I received about 150,000 euro, and because of my academic scholarship, I don't have to pay for college. So after I invested part of the money and also put some away for a rainy day, I still had about 20 to 30,000 left over, and that's when my stepmother became involved. So, I have two siblings, one bio, 6, and one step, 8, and honestly have a good relationship with both, even though I don't get along with my stepmother due to reasons I would rather not say. So stepmother decided to invite a couple of neighbors over for a barbecue. So, the topic of school came up, and my stepmother had said she was making a college account for my little sister, Step, and I absent-mindedly asked about giving them both an equal amount of my granddad's inheritance, and her response was to transfer the money into her account, and she'll transfer the money to the reflective college funds. I found this really weird, and knowing my stepmother's history, I said I would like to do the transaction myself, so I knew it was fair on both kiddos, and she blew up. I decided to leave and left it be for a few days, and that's when I received a text from my stepmother asking when I was transferring the money to my stepsister's college fund, and that's when I reminded her I was giving equal amounts to both kiddos, and that's when she said they only put a college fund aside for my sister. And when I asked about my brother, she said that he has his own mother and family to set that up for him, and because of the amount they have to pay for his issues, ADHD, dyspraxia, and Asperger's, she didn't see why they should have to pay for his college. When I say I blew up, I mean I blew up and let out a lot of resentment when it came to us as kids, and how her favoritism shouldn't be tolerated in any way, shape, or form, and how disgusted I was at both her and my father that they were letting this happen. So, a few days rolled by, and that's when I decided all the money was going to be put aside for my bio brother's college fund and tests, when the harassment started from both of my parents because I was putting my sister's future at risk, which is utter crap, because they have over 10 years to save for her education. My stepmother has openly demanded for more money out of my fund, and I have and will refuse still furthermore, because that little boy deserves as much of a chance as my stepsister, and hopefully will for the future. I do kind of feel guilty, but I had to put him first because he's my little brother and I love him. And he's not going to grow up thinking he's unloved because he's different. So guys, am I the a-hole? Let's read the top judgment of this post. Not the a-hole. You are making up for the unequal treatment of your brother. It's your money and you can choose to do with it as you wish. Your stepmom sounds like a greedy, entitled a-hole. That's not how anyone should respond to someone's very generous offer. I've decided to give my brother $25,000 and my stepsister $5,000. She deserves more money. You're not happy with $5,000? Okay then, I've changed my mind. It's $4,500. And the more unhappy you are, the more the amount will change. It's entirely up to you. Not the best response to someone's greed, but arguably one of the more satisfying ways to shut someone down. Not the a-hole. And your stepmother could not be more obvious about her lack of trustworthiness. And regardless of what you decide to do for your sibling and step-sibling, do not put that money anywhere where your father or stepmother has access to it. Why not just create a college fund for your brother yourself? This way, you don't have to worry about your greedy stepmother having access to it or pressuring your father for it. And tell your father and stepmother to fall over and die. You're under no obligation to help anyone with their college education. Not the a-hole. Do not give your dad or stepmom any money to handle. You can't trust them with your money. Instead, invest the money yourself, in your own name, with the intention that it could be used for your brother's future expenses as needed. We have a little update from Opie. Update. So everyone, I've taken a lot of your advice and I decided I'd share these thoughts with you. So I'm going to give about $25,000 for my brother's college/future, but this is going to be put in a trust fund till he's 18, which is going to be managed by myself and his grandmother. I've also decided I'd pay both his tuition directly if he does decide on college, while I'd advise him for rent/food/house expenses if he wants with the remaining money. I'm also going to specifically make sure parents can't take any of that income with the threat of a solicitor. Treat it as I come to it. The next thing I've decided, although controversial, is to put $5,000 aside for my sister, which she can get if she sticks to 2 conditions. Doesn't share it with her parents, and treats both my brother and I with respect once she's 21, because her father also is in charge of her college fund, so I know she will have some money. I've officially decided my parents and I will not communicate unless it's about my siblings. Have agreed with my father. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for wanting to make my daughter act like a mother/adult? I will try to make this short and sweet. 4 years ago, we told our 27-year-old single mother, daughter, and grandson to come live with us so she can go to school free in our state due to us being vets. We said we would help with our grandson, now 5, until she got daycare set up. She dragged her feet for months, then knowingly took him to a drug addict. Once I found out, I refused to let him go back, and my husband and I said we wanted to vet the next sitter. It was over 2 years before my husband found a babysitter that was a really good one. She is amazing. Our daughter took a new job about a year ago and works swing shift, so now we provide all babysitting all the time. She works full-time with alternate weekends scheduled and goes to school full-time. She is gone most of the time. She doesn't contribute the money she saves in daycare to our additional costs of having our grandson full-time, taking him to all his appointments, and taking to/from school. I brought this up to my husband and he says that we don't babysit our grandson. We are spending time with him. I get what he means by that, but in the end, we do have him all the time. We can't go anywhere, just us. All of our trips over the last 2 years have been canceled due to her not having a babysitter to cover for the hours she is at work, and since it isn't inconveniencing her, she doesn't try to get a backup sitter. We had an international trip planned and she couldn't find a babysitter, so I recommended she take some vacation days to care for her son. She refused and threw a drama fit about how this is what family does, support each other, and my husband caved and canceled our trip, so once again, we could take care of her son. When she is home, she sits on her phone while her son just sits there watching TV, instead of taking him out back to play on the trampoline and fort that he has. I am fed up. I love and adore my grandson. This isn't about him. It's about our daughter being so codependent that my husband and I can't do anything in our retirement except watch our grandson. Every trip we had made, we had to take him with us. I told her that she has until June, when she graduates, to get her schedule changed to day shift and start taking him to the daycare we found. I also said she will need to start paying us the $400 per month she is saving on daycare to help offset our costs. She is pissed. She threw a fit saying she can't control what shift she is on, despite changing it for school, and I am purposely trying to make things harder for her. She is 31 years old now. She has never lived in her own, ever. She has either had us or her mom helping her raise her son. We take care of everything in the house. She literally just goes to work, school, and home. She has no household responsibilities. I do the cooking and cleaning. Am I the a-hole for trying to make her accountable for her son as a mother and adult? Not the a-hole. I'm pretty sure what you are doing is called being a parent and trying to encourage your kid to grow up. Honestly, you've probably been way too easy on her for way too many years, which has basically led to the problem you have now. But it's difficult when you got a young kid involved. I am a lot less compassionate when it comes to her because as a woman, I see what she is doing, the manipulation, acting like the victim, and playing on her dad's emotions. My husband has asked me to ease back because he is scared she will get butthurt, take off with our grandson, and we won't see him again. She can't live on her own. She has no idea, and anytime a guy gives her attention, she will bail on our grandson. It's really hard for me to keep my mouth in check. I have raised that girl since she was 10, and she is my daughter. I just hate what is going on. Your husband is enabling her to continue hurting her child. That poor kid is growing up knowing their mother doesn't even like them, feeling like they're just an inconvenience when their mother throws a fit over having to take care of them. That kind of scar lasts a lifetime. This is why people need to stop having kids they don't even want by their own actions. Don't get me wrong. She loves her son, no question. She just lacks the maturity to put him first. Her only responsibilities are work, school, and her son in that order. Not the a-hole. You aren't babysitting or simply spending time with your grandson, you are raising him. Your daughter needs to grow the hell up. She chose to have that child. It's her responsibility to make sacrifices for them and smile while doing it because they are for her child that she chose to have. You need to stop enabling your daughter's bad behavior at this point. Can you help? Absolutely. But you shouldn't be responsible for everything to the point your vacation gets canceled because she can't be bothered to be a mother after choosing to be one. Thank you for the feedback. Everyone sucks here. You've definitely been enabling her for a long time, and you shouldn't have caved to her drama fit that led you canceling your international trip. Tough luck for her, but she needs to grow up. And that's our video for today, guys. As always, leave your comment below and don't forget to click like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe.